Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the disclaimers and a rant. Now, I know on one of the comments of the videos, just because for some reason Twitter is going off on, but looks. My point. On a general work day, this is what I look like. Hoodie, t-shirt, pajama pants. Yeah. A person's character, not their looks, should be the most important thing about them. The fact that we live in a world where if you do not dress, sound, walk, talk a certain way, people will not listen to you is insane, folks. But I know this because I lived it. When I've gone out and spoken, done conferences, I literally at one point began calling it becoming the doll. Becoming the doll would be basically the makeup, getting the proper outfits they expected me to wear. Had to literally, it's part of my mask now, I had to do it so many times. Change how I walked, how I spoke to people, what my mannerisms were. Literally everything. Or people wouldn't even listen to me. I had to present a attractive and neurotypical relatable package for them to actually hear what I was trying to say. This is why little comments like when we've got the news saying, "Oh, but this person is beautiful," pisses me off so much. There are so many people out there with very important things to say and very important conversations that need to be had that never happen because of how an individual looks, because we don't play the doll, because we don't make ourselves aesthetically, pleasing to you. Then you have individuals like AH. You're willing to listen to her no matter how batshit insane she sounds, because you see where I'm going with this, right? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Matter of fact, the reason why disability rights get swept under the rug and never really talked about in the media is because, well, I guess it's just not the sexy issue, is it? We don't exactly have our spokesmodels coming out of the pages of Playboy, do we? This, in my opinion, is what's wrong with society. There are conversations that are literally never being had. We literally have disabled people being murdered in their homes, being tortured, being experimented on, being exploited. And nothing, unless it comes from one of us. It's ridiculous. And by the way, if you want to talk about how exhausting it is to play the doll, as I've called it, how mentally draining and psychologically just how much it sucker punched me in the gut every time I had to do it, I can't even tell you, folks. I really can't even tell you how demoralizing it was to have to create my own second mask away from the mask, the doll, in order to get any kind of traction inside this state. And it's not a whole lot of traction we were able to get, folks. We got some decent things done. We were able to get those job programs out there that make logical, coherent sense, grant you. And was it worth it? Would I do it again? Yes, I would. I'd do it today if I thought that it could make things better. My point is, it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't give people a platform, particularly abusers, a platform just because you find them aesthetically pleasing. Nor should we be ignoring a very, very serious issue because you don't find that group who's fighting for their own rights and a right to live aesthetically pleasing. Tired of it, folks. Real tired of it. To the disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rothberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're also going to find in there NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. We also have the link to the Ozarks first article in regards to the Agape boarding school / Stone for Help situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that has that takes in so-called double male teams. Sorry, itchy boob. Yes, I said that on camera. I regret nothing. Alright, back as I was saying, that has in counting over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and deaths just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on premises with full access, the boys up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after pedophiles to actually protect kids. No, I'm sorry, you have an attorney general chasing after drag queens instead of pedophiles, and you got a governor who's just off his nut, alright? So please share that article. We got the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and use your headphones. This channel is marked not for children for a reason, although I am cutting it back on the foul language. You're going to hear a profanity here or there, especially considering the subject matter. So if your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision, very much advised, alright? Okay. Trigger warning, we are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear victim blaming, gaslighting, pseudoscience, and lies. Enough ableism and bigotry to circle the globe, and all coming from the mouth of I use this term loosely, gentleman with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So folks, as always, please be prepared for the stupid, I'm going to try to make these next 2 videos short and sweet because I still got one to do on the sheltered workshops that I wanted to get over with since this is the last day of vacation. And I've got to sleep sometime. All right, so where we left off last time. Remember, folks, we are going over, just to kind of rewind it back a little bit, the bizarre behavioral rehearsal lessons. Remember, that is when they will deliberately trigger a behavior in order that the person may then be tortured for that behavior so that they can teach them that it's wrong. If it sounds batshit, that's because it is. Let's move on here. JRC's behavioral treatment program is designed to eliminate the problematic behaviors that physically harm the student and prevent the student from learning new skills and replacing these problematic behaviors with positive behaviors such as reading, writing, class participation, self-care, independence, and social interaction. Let's unpack this one, shall we? Okay, doctor. Let me just make it real basic for you. As someone who is very much an avid reader, matter of fact, my mom could tell you that the majority of my childhood got spent telling her and everybody else to leave me alone. I was reading. My addiction to reading is not going to stop me from having a meltdown. Okay? It doesn't make any sense to deliberately trigger someone and then punish them for the reaction that you wanted them to have and then say, but replace it with reading. What? Or participate with class or self-care or independence or social interaction. Are you on crack? Are you high? No, doctor. No. Natural psychologist, one who's not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, we'll use the term from the 90s, would know, instead of deliberately triggering the person, trying to force behavior on them, find out the underlying issue that causes that particular trigger. To then introduce reasonable accommodations, assistive devices, and coping techniques such as breathing exercises and even different types of movement in order to calm us down as much as humanly possible to bring these behaviors to a minimum. There's no way in hell that reading's going to replace meltdown, doctor. I can't start going into a meltdown and be like, oh, but wait, I gotta go read Lord of the Rings. Even as a Tolkien, frothing at the mouth freaking stan idiot for everything Tolkien ever wrote. Not how any of this works. When I am in there, when I've been triggered, when I'm going in, reading? Really? What part of knock knock nobody is home do you not comprehend, doctor? I am not in the frame of mind to even be able to pick up a book to be able to comprehend the words that are in front of my eyeballs at the time. Okay? It is pure animal at that time. It is base level primal. But you could do writing. As someone who's been writing since she was 10 years old. 10 years old, doctor. Wrote my first 60-page story at 10 years old. That also did not bring me out of any meltdowns. That being said, it was a wealth of information considering I used poetry in particular to talk about those feelings that I was not in any other way able to express, to help me with my therapist delve into what's triggering things. This is true. None of that was happening when I was getting ready to go into a meltdown. Okay? Class participation. Again, I ask you, are you on crack? What part of knock knock, no one is home is hard to comprehend here? When we are in that state, we are at our most primal. Okay? Class participation, self-care, independence, and social interaction are at the very least of our concerns at that point in time. This is stupidity. Absolute stupidity. These things do not go together. They don't. But we could teach you to better communicate your issues. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is when we are going into these behaviors, this is not the time for communication. Time for communication would have been before I went into the meltdown. By the time it's bad enough that even the normies are starting to notice something is wrong, none of this is going to help. Now let's talk about logical things that have actually been proven to help over the years. Y'all ever hear of weighted blankets? When you're in primal, these sort of things aren't going to work. But things that make physical contact, things that are soothing, do. In particular, when you're getting ready to go and full on meltdown, you are upset. Your brain is beyond the ability to be able to pick up a book or pick up a pencil. But a weighted blanket that gets thrown at you, that you can wrap around yourself, that gives you that tight kind of cushioning hug almost. In its own way, it's primal. It's physical touch. That can help a great deal. Things of that nature help a great deal. Expecting us to read, write, and participate in class when we're in the most primal state of mind is beyond idiotic. There are, however, things that have been tested and proven by parents and by us that do actually work, like weighted blankets or weighted jackets, or giving us something soft to kind of manipulate with our hands. Me. Just saying. That sort of thing works. That is something that a primal brain would be able to respond to. Even if logic has gone out the window, I can still physically feel things. Does that make sense to you? Now, do I say such interventions work all the time? Of course they don't. Because I'm not a liar. That's just stupid. But excuse me, I'm gonna curse. Please pause the video or fast forward if this offends you. It's a whole hell of a lot more likely to work than trying to force me to read when I'm in primal animal brain. Okay? Harmless behaviors such as raising one's hand without permission have never been treated with skin shock at the JRC. Doctor, that is a lie. That's a lie, folks. How do I know this? Because we have Jennifer Masemba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses. One of them that they would shock her over is if she had her hand in the air to ask to go to the bathroom. Because if they ignored her hand and then it's up in the air again, trying to ask the question, they call that nagging. And it's a shockable offense. And again, you don't have to take my word for that. You can go into the description box and pull up that sheet. It's right there. That means by your own documentation, doctor is calling you a liar. Because it is a lie, folks. And it has been noted, not just by MDRI, but also the New York State Department of Special Education, as well as student testimony and their own paperwork. So what are we learning from this here? Dr. Matthew Israel should not have access to anyone's kids. The fact that he believes that by these behavioral rehearsal lessons where he will deliberately trigger someone and then punish them and then teach them how to behave, and this is what he's providing, should cue you in on just how much this man has no idea what in the world he's doing. Nor does he comprehend or understand the individuals over which he's supposed to be an expert. You go to any parent who has one of us as their kids. You talk to them. You ask them, when we start going into meltdown, if they can redirect us to read it, they're going to look at you like you're nuts. If, however, you speak to these parents, and I do, Mentor to Mentor program, folks. Allies I've been in contact with years and still friends with them all. The weighted blankets. Things that are sensory, physical. Things that do not really require us to do much of communication because at that point in time, we really can't. In fact, it might take a good solid, 15 minutes at the very least of being surrounded by a weighted blanket before I'm able to communicate like a human again. Those things are well known, both amongst the parents and advocates, for more years than I care to count, way before even I came onto the scene. You have books written. You literally have patterns that are sold by places like Walmart and Hobby Lobby, places like that all over the world. And this guy is going to tell you, but when they're in the meltdown, maybe if you get them to read. We're going to go ahead and close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye, everyone.